Gonzalo Lira is dead. Long live Coach Red Pill. We will never forget his sacrifice. And I don't want to joke. I just try and always be lighthearted on this channel. Even though most of what I talk about is really dark and depressing. Gonzalo was a happy guy. He made fun videos. He was a bit of a clown at times. He was someone who, really before the war in Ukraine started, he was not someone that you'd go to for like super serious news. Back in the day, he would write a lot of articles about the '08 financial crisis, which were pretty good. He had his head screwed on straight as far as that was concerned. He was on the side of the good guys in 2008. Opposing the likes of Tim Geithner and Jim Cramer. Sorry, I just had a senior moment there. Couldn't remember the name of Jim Cramer. I kept picturing that video of him where he's screaming about Bear Stearns. You have no idea how bad things are out there. He was crying like a baby, crying like Bill Ackman, frankly. And Gonzalo was on the other side, pointing at the Wall Street establishment and ridiculing them, deservedly so. Then he became sort of a manosphere influencer who would give, dating advice, hence the name Coach Red Pill. And I'll be honest, never watched any of that stuff. Had absolutely no interest in it. I don't want to kick a man while he's down, but I always thought, going to social media influencers for dating advice, that just, I don't know, seems really cringy and sad to me. But hey, you know what? People enjoyed what they said. I don't even know that people necessarily took his advice seriously, but people enjoyed the videos he put out. They liked what he had to say. And he was a good dude. He was likable. He was a little silly. And he happened to live in eastern Ukraine because he thought that the West was nuts, our society was breaking down, our morals are way out of whack. And so he wanted to go somewhere where he thought the world made sense, and for him that happened to be eastern Ukraine, which, I think he made a good argument for, Eastern Europe, and why, in a lot of ways their society makes more sense than America these days. But ultimately, when the war broke out, he was caught in the crossfire. Now, he had time. He could have just ran away if he wanted to. There was time. He was only captured for the final time, I believe, back in August. He had been arrested by the, the SVD? Or was that the Russian name? SBU? I think that might be the Ukrainian Stasi/CIA. And they put him through the ringer the first time, and to me, if I were him, that would have been my breaking point, and I would have said, you know what, I got to get out of here. Even if I stayed initially because I wanted to, be on the ground and talk about what was going on and, give an honest, real-life perspective on what was happening inside of Ukraine during the war. After I get renditioned by the secret police one time, as soon as they let me out, I'm running for the hills. But he didn't do that. He was, I have to give him all the credit. He was much braver than I ever would have been. He stood him down, and he said, you know what, no, I'm going to keep saying what I want, because it's my right, damn it. And I'm going to be critical of this government, because I think that I'm correct, and I have a right to disagree with the regime in power. And so Gonzalo, by standing his ground, exposed unequivocally the reality of what Ukraine is. Ukraine is a totalitarian police state where dissent is not tolerated, where you do not have a right to disagree with the government, whatever criticisms people who support Ukraine may level against Russia, and the lack of political freedom that they allege exists in Russia, Ukraine has proven itself to be, at the very least, no better. Because they are willing to murder and disappear not only their own citizens who happen to disagree with the government, but foreign citizens, in particular Americans. That's what Gonzalo was. He was an American citizen. He grew up in the United States. I believe he was born in Chile, though. But he was a dual citizen of Chile and the United States. He lived in Ukraine. And the United States was Ukraine's greatest ally. And so you would think, if Ukraine even had like a modicum of self-restraint, if there were sane people running the show in Kiev, and they had this big dissident in their country who was saying all sorts of things that made it look bad, because Gonzalo certainly did. He was, trumpeting at the top of his lungs all the problems with the regime in Kiev. If he was really that big of a problem and he was an American, you would think that they would try and deal with him quietly and just deport him. But no. They don't care that he happens to be from the country that writes all of their checks, that provides all of their weapons, the country that has ensured that Ukraine still exists. If it weren't for the United States, make no mistake, Ukraine would have been wiped off the map. And so the regime in Kiev exists at the pleasure of the United States. And this is how Kiev treats our people. They kidnap them and most likely torture them to death. And the worst part is, I think our government not just implicitly endorsed it. I think that Ukraine probably, because they don't care about the PR, they don't care about how it looks for, to the American people to have Ukraine just murder an American citizen. They don't care about the optics of that. What they care about is, okay, well, what is the Biden administration going to say? Are they going to be mad at us if we kill this guy? And so they would have gone to the Biden administration, to the the State Department in Kiev, at the American High Commission. And they would have said, can we whack this guy? Do you mind if we kill your citizen? And most likely Victoria Nuland would have turned to the Ukrainian attaché and said to him, no, that Gonzalo guy, he's on our kill list too. You'll be doing us a favor by getting rid of him. And so that's what they did. This is what your government thinks of you. Your government is very happy to let you be killed for exercising what ostensibly is a God-given right, as recognized by the United States Constitution. And so these pathetic vermin who supposedly swear an oath to the United States Constitution, who supposedly are swearing an oath that they believe that freedom of speech is a God-given right, if they really believe that, they would think that it is wrong for an American or for anyone to be killed based on what they say, based on exercising their right to free speech. But of course, none of our leaders believe that. None of the people in our government believe that. What they believe in is power and compliance. They're no different than any of the tyrants who have lived throughout history. The United States government is no more righteous, no more just than Russia or China or the British Empire or the Roman Empire or Nazi Germany. They all believe in advancing their own power and crushing their opponents. There are no, great liberal values that the U.S. is promoting throughout the world. The U.S. is not trying to make the world safe for democracy. It's all a sham. And that's what Gonzalo's death proves unequivocally. He is a victim not only of Ukraine, but of the United States, because Ukraine works for the United States. Ukraine is our proxy. And so they effectively, our government, had Gonzalo killed, because they could have saved him at any time with one phone call. Or maybe they wouldn't have even had to do that, because I believe that the Ukrainians probably would have gone to them way in advance. They would have gone to Victoria Nuland herself. And so she likely is the one who ordered his death. Because as anyone who listened to Gonzalo knows, he was no friend to Victoria Nuland. And so you offend these bureaucrats, these unelected tyrants, on a personal level. You take issue with them, they will have you killed. That's what we're dealing with. These are the people who rule us. These are the people who are in charge of our government. And so, yes, Gonzalo was in a very vulnerable position, being in a foreign country during a time of war, but he was nonetheless an American and entitled to all the rights therein. And by standing his ground and asserting his rights, he called Washington's bluff. And for that, I thank him. For that, I think every January the 12th, we should remember his life and his sacrifice, and we should remember the lessons and reflect on the lessons that his death teaches us. Now, one last note, if by some miracle it turns out that he is still alive, and that the information provided to Tucker Carlson by Gonzalo's father proves to be false, I will be very happy. And I will happily retract everything I've said today with respect to his death. But much of what I said, I didn't just come up with on the fly after he died. I realized these things a long time ago because of other incidents. But when you have this sort of systemic corruption of a society, of a system, events repeatedly affirm these facts. And so Gonzalo's death is just the latest, and I think one of the most striking examples that I think could be used to teach people who are maybe new to this, who don't really understand what time it is, just what sort of situation we're dealing with. So with that said, I will see you folks back here in the next one, which will probably be Sunday. I think Saturday I'm going to be busy.